What's up, everybody? It's AGX Comics here, and actually, this video I'm making specifically because I want to kind of revisit the subject of the Amazing Spider-Man number 925 here. I know I just recorded the read and review to it, but I feel like I came off a bit harsh when it was trying to set up some tones. I usually like to be more on the side of like let the writer, tell the his or her story that they're trying to come across with it, but the Zeb Wells run has been so bad recently that, like, at least in my opinion, right? Like, and I'm not hearing a lot of people out there advocating for, like, yeah, these are great. Like, I'm not hearing that at all. So, like, that's kind of like I want to revisit it and kind of go over the topics that were introduced and maybe things that we could possibly look forward to in the future, future issues, and just kind of overall kind of dissect it because I know I read did the read and review, gave a little review at the end, and I feel like I was like super negative on it because at the time I was a little frustrated because again, I don't think that issue I still believe that issue should not be worth $10. Like I feel like it's such a waste of money for it. But also I don't want it to come across where I'm like really like, the price point is what's getting me the most about that story, because the story wasn't necessarily awful, right? Like, I can't sit there and be like, "This story was horrible, it's the worst thing I've ever read," because that's just a downright lie. Like, it wasn't a horrible story, but it did seem like there was just so much filler. And it seemed like for something that was supposed to be branded as a monumental issue at being in number 925, for it to come up so short is really disappointing. But the real kick in the teeth was the $10 price mark. However, let's just jump in here and kind of like list some the major key points, right? And again, I know the nine other stories that don't really feel that significant, to be honest with you. Like, great, we get to kind of see where Paul, or was it Paul, or whatever his name is, the one, the one who married Mary Jane with the kids. It's Paul. Um, like, we could see how their marriage is kind of falling apart because of the kids that weren't really their kids are now gone. Great. The Miss Marvel coming back and announcing she's an X-Men, and I don't know why that particular one was drawn so weird. I don't know. That one just looked really weird. Miss Marvel's eyes are like bugged out. I don't know what's going on there. But in general, going back to story A, the one that matters at least for the one for continuity's sake for ASM, right? Specifically that one, the thing that I'm looking at is like, okay, like the big questions that I feel like I failed to really touch upon in the review portion of it, and the whole reason why I wanted to make a separate video. Um, Tombstone's possibly dead. Like whatever the bullet was that Shotgun made, that I could see that being at play in the next few issues, which is interesting. Definitely is interesting that like, hey, like that's a major death if that is the case. On top of that, Mesquite, I don't know if I'm always saying that right, but she like it presumably has got to be dead with that car explosion from Hammerhead, right? So those are like two huge plot points that like I feel like the community is not overlooking, but are like, yeah, whatever, right? Like brushing it off, which is like pretty significant to the story at hand. And then yeah, let's draw attention to the elephant in the room. The fact that, the wedding obviously didn't happen. Now, I know historically weddings in comics never actually happen. It seems like it never goes successfully. I think it would be a curveball to have one actually go through successfully. Um, However, they're not officially married yet, so there's like I could see that being definitely a B plot to the story. But again, I could see where this could get interesting because this is also like the prelude, I want to say, for the gang war event that's coming in November, right? Um, Obviously, I kind of mentioned it. Now, this is the third video I'm talking about gang war, where I thought this one would play a bigger role. And actually, going over it, it did. I think, like, quite frankly, it did kind of set the tone between Hammerhead and Tombstone. That's kind of why I'm leaning on Tombstone is probably not dead per se. I mean, Mystique, she's got to be dead, right, from that explosion. But again, they trust me, the power of the pen, definitely could bring back lives, right? But no one kind of stays dead in Marvel Comics. Let's be honest here. However, though, I definitely wanted to touch upon those because those are big plot points. But again, it's the delivery, right? So if we look at it in being 42 pages or 46 pages, whatever it was, of actual story for the 925 mark, not the little trailer stories that they put in, not the 9 trailers of stories that might not even go anywhere because they're advertising about books that you may not even be reading, right? And I get like it's, good way to advertise for books, but it's also kind of a kick in the teeth when you're paying $10 for that stuff. And that's why I couldn't let it go. And I feel like I was being really super negative about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, that is a lot of money for that book. And really, it's not worth the cost, in my opinion, right? Maybe you love it. Maybe it's the greatest book you've ever read. But honestly, that's why I feel like I was a little harsh, but I had to clear up. And that's why I wanted to make this video of like, kind of dissecting it. Like, okay, those are the big plot points, right? Is basically that, and the wedding never actually happened. Um, Obviously, there's two lives in balance, and this is setting up for gang war, right? There, we could see where the New York crime is split between, Hammerhead trying to overthrow Tombstone and so forth. And like obviously you could see it's like, well, where is this gonna go? Who else is gonna be at play here? Um so yeah, we're gonna have to see until that point. But I just wanted to cover this like really briefly as like a follow up to that, right? Because those I do see those points as being like good like pros, right? The cons were that this issue was bad because in my opinion, the whole Bachelor and Bachelorette sequence literally took what a full size comic book would be for ASM. And really, was it even necessary? It really wasn't. Like, they could have played more to the fact of the villains at the wedding, I feel like, than the Bachelor and Bachelorette party, because it took, like, what, 24 pages to get past the Bachelor and Bachelorette party, which really wasn't that significant to the overall ending of the book and what's going forward. I mean, you could have flushed out those ideas of the supervillain or former supervillain with a good person or good guy's family. You could have really flushed that out in like 2 or 3 pages. You really didn't need that huge sequence. Like I felt like it was just so much filler in the beginning of the book. And what for like or not one panel, but one page of action. And I'm not saying this whole book had to be action packed, but at least, give us a story that wasn't fluff. It was all fluff, and then you put 9 trailers at the end of the book. That's why I was upset. However, I am looking forward to it. I know it sounds really negative right now, or what have you, but that's just kind of like my take on it. And I wanted to clear up or clarify like why I kind of gave it such a harsh review. Because I mean, generally, like, yeah, do I love Zeb Wills's run so far? No, not really. But is it the worst thing I'm ever reading? Like, no, it's not. So I don't know, but this one was definitely a kick in the teeth with the price point and for this much fluff to be in that book. But I'm always curious on what you guys think. I am hyped up for more comics to come. I'm really hyped up on Gang Wars, or yeah, sorry, Gang War. But this wasn't the best presentation of 925. I think that could have been written. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think below. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being too negative on this, but I don't know why. I just felt like that. I felt like that with this book, and it's sad because it's like I really was hyped up about this book, and I'm really hyped up about the future, and then leading into Gang War because I think Gang War is such a cool concept, and but there was aspects of this book I did like I wish we could have went more with the plot. Like yeah, it kind of like was a big surprise point of like, oh, Hammerhead's, secretly hired, uh, Shotgun to come through and like try to assassinate Tombstone. Like, obviously, it's going to be flushed out and probably number 32. But like, I feel like you could have done so much more cooler stuff in this book with that. You know what I mean? Instead of kind of like making us read a Bachelor and Bachelorette party for, 30 pages and then giving us that little snippet at the end, like, yeah, it was kind of cool, but we also kind of seen something happening there. So I don't know, maybe, but I am excited to see like how like what bullets were made that were able to pierce through Tombstone, and basically, if Mystique's dead, like it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be really cool. So if you guys are the readers as well, and listeners and viewers of my channel, let me know if you guys are hyped up about it, because I am, but I do sound very against it. But I like those elements of it. I just don't like how the presentation of 925 went. So, if you guys like more stuff about comic books or like the reading reviews, do me a huge favor. Go leave a like, subscribe, and drop a comment on what you thought about this book. Until next time, keep on reading, I guess. Bye.